One day, you'll look at the cat who's been by your side for years and realize they're not the same cat they used to be. They sleep differently. They play differently. Even the way they come to you begins to change. And not every one of those changes can simply be explained by old age. In this video, we'll explore how a cat's body, behavior, and mind can change as they grow older, the science behind those changes, and the signs many cat owners may overlook. But there's one change we'll save for the very end. It doesn't just happen in your cat's body or behavior. It happens in the relationship the two of you have built over all those years. And once you understand it, you may look at the cat beside you today very differently. Your cat's world may start getting smaller. For years, your cat may have slept on the same high perch by the window, jumped onto the same chair, raced across the room the moment you pulled out their favorite toy. Then, little by little, those things begin to change. The perch goes unused. The jumps become less frequent. And instead of chasing the toy, your cat may simply watch it, then reach out with one paw. It's easy to think they just don't want to do those things anymore. But what if the desire hasn't disappeared? What if their body is quietly changing how they can interact with the world they still enjoy? In a 2010 study led by veterinary pain researcher Duncan Lascelles, researchers x-rayed the joints and spines of 100 cats ranging from young adults to 20 years old. The result was striking. 92% showed radiographic evidence of degenerative joint disease somewhere in the body. And those changes were strongly associated with age. That doesn't mean 92% of those cats were in pain or had clinical arthritis. But it shows how common structural joint changes can be and why small changes in behavior may matter. An older cat may stop jumping onto a favorite shelf, but still want to look out the same window. They may stop racing after a toy, but still watch, stalk, and reach out when it comes close. The world may look smaller from the outside, without becoming any less meaningful to your cat. So don't measure an older cat by everything they no longer do. Pay attention to the new ways they're choosing to stay connected to the world they've always loved. Because physical changes are only part of what happens as a cat grows older. Some of the most surprising changes may be happening somewhere you can't see at all inside your cat's brain. When your cat's brain begins to age, too. And those changes can be much harder to notice. An older cat may walk into a room they've known for years and suddenly stop. They may stare at a wall, seem unsure where to go, or start wandering and waking up at times when they used to be fast asleep. It's easy to explain moments like these with one sentence. They're just getting old. But something more complex may be happening. Because aging doesn't only change your cat's body, their brain ages too. Studies of aging feline brains have found physical changes associated with age, including the buildup of beta amyloid, a protein also widely studied in human brain aging and neurological disease. And in some cats, changes in memory, awareness, sleep, and behavior may become significant enough to be described as feline cognitive dysfunction syndrome, or FCDS. And cats aren't alone. Dogs can experience age-related cognitive changes too, including changes in memory, orientation, and social interaction. But this is where we need to be careful. A confused moment does not mean your cat has cognitive dysfunction. Neither does staring at a wall, waking at night, or occasionally seeming disoriented. Similar changes can have other causes, which is why a new or persistent behavior in an older cat deserves attention rather than being dismissed as just old age. What matters is something much simpler. The brain has an aging story, too. So when the cat you've known for years suddenly seems a little lost in a world they once understood so easily, don't assume they've simply become strange. They may be experiencing that familiar world differently now. And sometimes, one of the first ways we notice that difference is when our once familiar cat begins communicating in a way we've never heard before. When your cat starts communicating differently. Maybe your cat has been quiet for most of their life. Then, as they get older, you start hearing them at night. A meow from the hallway, another from an empty room. Sometimes, they wander through the house calling out when everyone else is asleep. And it's tempting to think, old cats just do that. But a new voice can be worth listening to. In one survey on cognitive decline in cats, researchers collected 615 responses from cat owners. Among cats classified as showing signs consistent with cognitive dysfunction, 40% showed inappropriate vocalization, making it the most commonly reported sign in that group. But that number needs context. More meowing does not mean your cat has cognitive dysfunction. Changes in vocalization in older cats can also be associated with pain, hearing, or vision changes, and other medical conditions. So the important question isn't, what does this one meow diagnose? It's, why is my cat communicating differently than they used to? One behavior alone can't tell you exactly what's happening, but it can tell you that something has changed. Your cat can't walk up to you and say, something feels different tonight. Sometimes behavior is the closest thing they have. And that's why knowing your cat's normal patterns matters so much. The sounds they make, the routines they follow, the ways they usually respond to you. Because noticing what has changed begins with knowing what has always been familiar. And that leads to something surprisingly important. Even when your cat begins acting differently, they may still recognize far more of their familiar world than you realize. Your cat may change without forgetting what's familiar. The cat who once loved being held now wants to be put down. The cat who used to be independent suddenly spends more time close to you. And after enough little changes, you may start wondering, is this still the same cat I've always known? In many ways, yes. Sometimes, what looks like a personality change may actually be a change in how your cat experiences the same world. A touch that once felt comfortable may feel different in an aging body. A jump onto your lap may require more effort. Changes in hearing or vision may also affect how your cat responds to you. But behaving differently doesn't mean the familiar parts of their world have disappeared. In 2013, researchers Atsuko Saito and Kazutaka Shinozuka tested 20 domestic cats to see whether they could recognize their owners by voice alone. The cats heard several voices without seeing who was speaking. Most didn't run toward their owners or show dramatic recognition. But when their owner's voice played, the cats showed stronger orienting responses through movements of their ears and heads. A cat who looks like they're ignoring you may still know exactly who just spoke. The study wasn't specifically about aging cats, and it doesn't prove recognition stays unchanged throughout old age. But it reveals something important. Recognition doesn't always look the way humans expect it to. Your voice, your footsteps, the routines you've repeated thousands of times. Even as your cat begins experiencing life differently, you can still be part of what makes their world familiar. And that brings us to the change that's been happening more slowly than all the others. Not just inside your cat, but between the two of you. One day, you realize you've grown older together. Maybe when you first met your cat, you lived in a different home, had a different job, And you were a different version of yourself, too. Years have passed. Your cat has changed. And so have you. But after all that time, does a cat actually become more attached to you simply because they've grown older? Science doesn't give us enough evidence to say cats love their owners more as they age. But it does tell us something more meaningful. The relationship cats form with their humans can be more significant than simply knowing who provides the food. In a 2019 study led by Kristen Vitale, researchers used an attachment test with cats and their caregivers. The cats showed different attachment patterns, including behaviors researchers classified as secure attachment. And cats aren't the only animals whose relationship with us can shape how they experience the world. Studies in dogs have found evidence of a secure base effect, where the presence of their owner can influence how confidently they engage with their environment. Cats and dogs don't build or express those relationships in exactly the same way. But both remind us that the person beside them can become an important part of their social world. And for your cat, that world has been built through thousands of ordinary days. Breakfasts, playtime, quiet nights beside each other. You've watched your cat grow older, but they've spent all those years growing older beside you too. Loving a cat for a lifetime doesn't mean holding on to the cat they used to be. It means learning to love every version of them as the two of you change through the years. So tonight, if your cat is somewhere nearby, maybe give them a little extra time. Whether you've shared years together or your story is only just beginning. What's one moment with your cat that you treasure most? Share your story in the comments. Because one day, the ordinary moments you're living right now may become the ones you remember most.